Welcome to the Hospitality Breakroom, the podcast where we talk about the real conversation shaping the vacation rental industry. This season, we're diving into a topic that's becoming more important than ever, the relationship between vacation rentals and travel planners. For years, hotels have built strong partnerships with travel advisors and planners, while many vacation rental operators have struggled to understand how to work within that ecosystem. But that's changing. Today's travelers are looking for more personalized experiences, more space, and more curated stays. Travel planners are increasingly helping clients discover professionally managed vacation rentals as part of that experience. Throughout this season, we'll talk with travel planners, industry leaders, and hospitality professionals to better understand how these partnerships work, where the opportunities are, and what our industry can do to build stronger relationships with the advisor community. Whether you're a property manager, host, hospitality brand, or travel advisor, this season is designed to help bridge the gap between vacation rentals and the world of travel planning. Thanks for joining us in the break room. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Hospitality Breakroom. I'm Rachel Alday, and this season is our season called Booked Differently. And we are talking about the power of partnerships and building strong relationships with travel advisors. This entire season of 10 episodes is going to be all about conversations related to how it works when travel advisors or travel planners are looking to book trips for their clients and using vacation rentals as the lodging versus hotels. And we know, like, inherently that this is complex. And so that's why we want to have a lot of conversations on the topic. So today we have Rich with us, Rich Sippos. He has been with the Abode Luxury Rentals team for over 5 months. Under 5 months? Over
5 months.
Over 5 months. So not quite half a year. And it's been amazing. And we're so lucky. He is our director of sales. So he's over the reservations team and the concierge team. And in our business, that's like around $25 million in revenue, which is like a massive amount. And so I think that gives us as a company like a somewhat unique insight into like a fairly large amount of sales in the vacation rental industry. And we also do a lot with travel planners, or I don't know. I wish we were doing more, but we do a significant amount. And then Rich's background, I'm going to have him describe here in a second. Rich has a very diverse background in the vacation rental industry. And even recently, he's had some experiences in building those relationships and getting to know some of the travel planners, like, and even like the more high-end ones specifically in the industry. And so that's the conversation we're going to have today, is sort of talking about Rich's experience in the industry, and then that combined with what he's been experiencing and learning so far in dealing with travel planners. So most of our frame of reference today is coming from sort of the Abode frame of reference, which is the luxury, higher price point stuff. But I do think that the concept and the discussion around travel planners in the vacation rental industry, while it may be a little more concentrated on the luxury side of things, I do think it applies to the entire industry, just maybe in a little bit different ways. Okay, so Rich is going to introduce himself now. Why don't you tell us about your background and like maybe some of what you've been doing so far at Abode?
Yeah, for sure. So 21 years now in the vacation rental space.
Just a little bit of time.
Couple of companies in Park City, which most people are aware of, Park City Resort Properties and AAA Property Services. I've been in Bozeman for the last 12 years and have done some consulting within the industry and within the hospitality space in general. And then I spent about the last 5 years before Abode building sales and developing all the processes at Extenteam.
Yep, are we still using Extenteam? We are. And we've used Extenteam for
quite a while now.
Yeah, like maybe 4 or 5, I don't know,
it's been
around that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so since I've been with Abode, leading the sales team and also the concierge team, we've recognized that the importance of working with travel advisors and the type of clients that they can bring to us.
Yep.
And the type of properties and services that we can bring to them. So it's a great match for Abode, and especially, but like you said, it can be pretty universal for our industry.
I mean, I think travel planners there are different travel planners that specialize in different types of travel. And we had Vanessa Cella, who is one of the top 100 Fora travel planners on the last episode. And, she was talking about how like there's different planners, even just within Fora, like people that specialize in mountain or beaches or certain price points or whatever the case, maybe like Europe or whatever. And so I think in the vacation rental industry, I personally think like that's an area where maybe we could see different companies maybe doing better by specializing more. Abode, we've specialized obviously so far with like mountains and in luxury, and that served us well. And I think when you see companies that specialize in a certain niche, they tend to do better that way. So I could see how that would apply to the travel planners as well. And yeah, I think it's like very validating because Rich was telling me, I don't know, yesterday maybe, that he was telling me about how he's been noticing that some of these travel planners that book their client stays with us, like they can be bringing in this like these really high dollar amount reservations and how that can end up being like a high percentage of revenue overall. And, he was sort of sharing with me like just that he's starting to notice like how impactful that is. And I feel like that's something that I've seen for a long time, but maybe I start to doubt myself. So having someone else bring that up to me is like part of the reason I wanted to bring Rich on today, because I think Abode is like a case study of how impactful travel planners can be in the vacation rental industry in general. And if you just take our little 200 house portfolio, and if you look at revenue and just break it down in a really basic way, you can see a huge impact. And so then, and it's like, we're not even doing that much with the travel planners because of all the issues we're going to talk about today. So yeah. So, okay, wait, you want to talk about your experience with the Mountain Travel Symposium recently?
Yeah. So I've been in the industry, like I said, for 21 years, but have never been to MTS before this year. So it was quite exciting to be there. It was in Whistler. It was beautiful. We had a good day of mushy skiing when we were there as well. So everybody's so excited about the skiing and seeing one another. It's a great place to socialize and meet new people. Everybody is very friendly.
Yeah.
But they have a great method there of speed dating. So you do this speed dating meeting sessions where you're literally meeting with a travel advisor for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then jumping to your next appointment. Literally everyone gets up and moving to a different table.
Like how many in a row was it?
On the first day, I think I had 6 straight.
Okay. That's hand. Like I was thinking, was it like 15? No, 6. Okay, 6 is doable.
Then you get a small break and then you get back at it again. Right. So then you have maybe 6 more in a row.
Oh my gosh.
The good thing about it is pretty quickly within those sessions, you can realize right away, are you able to work with this partner or not? And vice versa.
Yeah.
They can decide pretty quickly, can they work with you or not?
Right.
So that's the beauty of the short sessions.
Yeah.
The downfall is that when you do get someone that that you really click with, that you'll be able to work with really well,
you have like
you
2
want to
seconds.
speak for about 2 hours with them, and you don't have that time.
You're like, quick, give me your phone number.
Exactly.
Talk to you later.
Exactly. So then you have to have a good note taker, and you have to really rely on those notes, and then really follow up with those advisors so that you create those right partnerships.
Yeah.
And, if you come out of that, my success rate for coming out of there, I wanted to meet 3 new partners that we could really work with, and really truly develop a relationship with, not a one-off.
Yeah.
They can give us one client,
right.
We can give them one rental. Like we would really want somebody that we can show them new properties when we get them. We can walk them through things. We can have them visit our locations and really have them see what we have to offer up firsthand.
Totally.
And create those real partnerships. And that way, the trust is built with that group, and you have them as a partner for as long as you possibly want.
Yeah. Which, I feel like Abode has had some relationships with some of the travel planners that I think I even mentioned, like on a couple of our first couple episodes this season, someone in Luxuria in LA and M Level in New York and Fisher Travels out of New York. And like those have been good over the years, but I would say, have we done a perfect job staying on top of those relationships? Like as of recent, maybe not, maybe we have let it fall off. And so I do think it's good to always be, number one, like assessing who are the travel planners in the industry right now that are the most well-suited for like the type of properties that you represent. And then also having a plan in place to maintain relationships with the ones that you have been working with, kind of like how you deal with real estate agents almost. It's like you need a plan because it can become overwhelming. Number one, to keep those relationships going and coddle, that ongoing fostering of the communication back and forth, but also figuring out how you're going to find new people. I know I did a speed dating thing with travel planners at a, my God, I'm forgetting the name of it. It's Seretti, the Seretti collection. So that's like a luxury, you know what that is? I don't know. So it's not like really, really widely known. It's definitely international. It's this guy Wolf, and he puts together, I forget his last name. Do you remember his last name? All I can think of is Wolf Blitzer, which was the guy on the news a long time ago like when it was like what was the war in Iraq? Iran, what was it? It was like Desert Storm. Remember
Right,
Desert
Gulf War,
Storm?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Gulf War. Rich and I are old enough to know what that is. Oh yeah, Wolf Worster is the guy that has Seretti. Seretti Collection is interesting. If you manage luxury properties or if you are a travel planner and you want to look at luxury, like if you're planning luxury travel for your clients, you should look up Seretti Group. Seretti Group is like a really cool select group that you can join for a fee, and then it's luxury only. So they did speed dating and it was cool. And actually Fisher Travel was at that event, which I thought was impressive. Fisher Travel is like the OG most respected travel planner companies. Anyway, but I've never been to MTS. So
Yeah.
when Rich said he would go, I was like, sweet. And I knew there would be good people there, like for sure. I remember looking through the details and it was like, okay, there will definitely be some people to work with. And then it always is like, it's like Rich said, it's like always, what do you do with the relationships that you made? And like, how do we follow up on it? And yeah, I tend to be a little bit sporadic with that, but I feel like I always follow through, but sometimes it takes me a little while to like maybe get over the hump of like the first conversation and then getting to have like more of a personal relationship. But I feel like I like a long game anyway, so it's fine. I
Right.
feel like you stretch it out a little and you could kind of like get to know each other better and then maybe build something a little more lasting and like stronger and not so quick.
But you talk about follow through and things that you might have with issues, and those
Yeah.
issues
Yeah.
happen on both sides too.
Mhm.
So if there's not a clear person to speak to on either side,
Yep.
some travel advisors have multiple advisors working, and you don't always talk to the same person.
Right.
That would be helpful, or it's helpful to know who everybody that you're working with actually is.
Yeah.
And if there's someone new, if they update you on those. Likewise, on the other side, same thing.
Yes. Like
They
our
need a
team.
contact.
Yeah.
Really, they need a contact, and they need to know who they'll be talking to. Like
Who's the contact? Like who's the backup?
who
What
is
if
the
that
main,
person's out of
who
town?
is the main person that is their main contact?
Yeah.
And then who are the agents that they'll be speaking to
Yes.
when it comes to showing them the property, showing them the amenities, explaining where things are,
Yeah.
how close ski in, ski out actually is, all of the details that are involved, and having that right communication
Yeah.
base is the key.
It's true. And it's like, I think one thing that's confusing to me is I know this, like, even from going to some of these like speed dating travel planner conference style events, is like, there's a couple types of travel planners and there's not like great language. It kind of reminds me actually, in vacation rentals, like say Abode, like us as a property manager, vacation rental company, we manage the homes, we take care of the homes, we market the homes, we take care of the guests, take care of the homeowner. It's like the full thing. But then there are companies like Rich and I were talking about a company yesterday. There's some companies in the vacation rental industry, and this is like more common in Europe for whatever reason, but there are companies like this in the United States too. They would also call themselves a vacation rental company, but they maybe only market homes and they don't take care of them. And they do more of like what I would consider wholesaling, where they sort of aggregate a bunch of listings of vacation rentals. They market them, they book the guest, but their team is not taking care of the house, nor are they necessarily local to the home. And so that's just like a different way. And I think that, that can be confusing. Like, what's vacation rentals? If a company in Europe says they manage 15,000 homes, but they don't actually take care of any homes, they don't have any contracts to take care of any homes, and then we manage 200 homes, like we could actually have somewhat similar annual revenue because like we're retaining such a higher percentage because we are taking care of the house, whereas they're taking a much smaller percentage because of, so anyway, to me, like that's confusing, right? Like in the vacation rental industry, you would say vacation rental company. It could be one of those two options. You don't really know which. And I think the same is kind of true with travel planners. There's travel planners like Vanessa that we had on with Fora Travel, where Vanessa is like, works for this larger company for travel, almost kind of like a real estate brokerage, right? But for travel planning, where she has the marketing backing from Fora, she has the brand behind that. She has resources, software, and like relationships that are contracted already with different hotel brands and stuff, where that's Fora Travel. She works on her own and, there's a commission set up for her. But then there's like travel planners, but more like Fisher Travel or M Level or in Luxuria, these companies we've worked with before, where those are like a company of like a few people, not as many people. They have a very select client base, maybe like 50 to 200 different clients. Those clients are paying an annual amount to be a client of that company. And then those clients are like, I don't know, they're sort of like, I wonder, I'm not even actually sure if they have contracts, but they're, they have like a different sort of setup, like more of a 360 full care approach, where Fora might be like, oh, you reach out to your Fora agent to see if they want to help you book this like lodging that you need, but it might not be fully encompassing, but there's not really any way when you talk about travel planner, it could be either of those and you never know which. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. So I'm confusing everything as normal, as I always do. But I think it's interesting to think about because when you go to those like symposiums, like the Seretti thing or MTS, you probably are actually talking to both types of travel planner
100%.
and you never
yeah.
really know which is which. And they actually work off of slightly different sort of commission setups, like similar but different. So I think there's like a million facets in this conversation. And that's partly why the solution is not here, like right in front of us right now, but also it's not impossible. And like these problems are not like we deal with a lot more complicated stuff in the other parts of our business. We can figure this out. Okay. So Helen did a really cool plan for us for the episode today. And so we have some questions that we came up with that we are going to try to go over during this episode. Okay. So one of them is, and this one, these are all going to be questions that I ask Rich. So I don't have to answer any, yay, but I probably will still talk a lot because it's still me. Okay. So the first question is, Rich, what did you hear from advisors that either surprised you or confirmed what you've experienced in your role so far?
One thing when I think of a surprise and something that I just am not thinking about is the political scene in the United States and what effect that has on international travel. And especially when it comes to high net worth individuals as well, and the impact that has with those companies, that are in Australia or in Europe or in Brazil or anywhere else.
Yep.
And what those feelings are towards the politics in America, and truly what impact that has on their ability to travel to the U.S. or in some cases just the want or
like their desire.
Travel. Right,
maybe they
exactly.
like change their mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest things that just I wasn't thinking about really.
Yeah.
And the other is just how many high net worth individuals there actually are that want to stay in the properties that we have.
Right.
And
like
that's exciting.
it's like a tiny percentage of the population, right? Like when you talk about the K-shaped economy and like the upper tip of the top of the K, and it's like this begins to feel like this little small portion of, society of the United States or international, depending on how you want to like segment what you're looking at. And it is like if you were to draw it out, it's like this tiny centimeter compared to like a much bigger, the rest of the graph being probably like a foot. And then there's like this little tiny part that's the top of that K-shaped. But then when you look at like how many people that includes, like for our business, like how many leads of how many people are interested in booking these homes, how many people actually book them, and how many are booking, let's say, above $20,000 for, 5 to 7 night stay, and how many of those people are spending over $20,000 on concierge services within our little microcosm, like our little ecosystem of vacation rentals that we manage. It's a lot. It's more than I think everyone thinks, right? Because that's the thing about talking about luxury is like when you talk about luxury, the very nature of it sounds exaggerated. Maybe I'm an exaggerator and that also contributes to it. I'm not sure. That's probably true. I think I come from a long line of exaggerators, but but I mean, I think regardless of if I'm an exaggerator or not, like the reality is whenever you talk about the highest levels of luxury, it sounds inflated. Like people are going to assume like, come on, is that real? And it is kind of a weird thing. When you look at our numbers, when you look at some of these stays and you look at how many of them are, over those higher dollar spends, it is shocking. And it's been growing ever since we started this business. And it kind of felt like it was slowing down, but like it's still growing.
Yeah.
Because of the K-shape, right? Because the economy has gone into this K-shape. And then you could throw a lot of stuff in there, right? You could talk about like the Anthropic IPO and the SpaceX IPO. And it's like, there's a bunch of people, I mean, depending on like which stage they got involved and they got out and whatever, but like a bunch of people got super rich, at least for a minute. And maybe some of them stayed that way. And so a bunch of wealth has been transferred probably more up to the top of the K-shaped economy. And so for those people that are in luxury travel, it's like our consumer base just grew.
And it's great because you think of the loyalty that those individuals have with those travel advisors and building that relationship between the guest and the travel advisor.
Yeah.
That is like, you work with 10 different travel advisors.
Yeah.
Then it just builds your network of all the people that are loyal to those brands.
Yeah.
And all become loyal to your brand.
Right.
So it's quite exciting when when you can get two or three new people to work with that you can stay with for a really long time.
And it makes me think too, it's like, okay, when you think about people that are currently wealthy that are looking to spend at these levels, like obviously it makes sense that they would want to be working with travel planners as that industry is growing, because you're talking about people that are wealthy. So most likely the bulk of them, they are working, right? They have like a job that has a lot of responsibility, and maybe they don't work a ton of hours because maybe they read Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week or whatever. But like they have high pressure. They're dealing with like high risk, right? Like the stakes are high for what they do. They're dealing with like a lot of money and they're going to make a lot of money from it. So that's a lot of pressure in and of itself. And so these are people that are going to probably inherently want assistance with their travel because their time is valuable, right? Like these people's time could be used to make $100,000 a day or $1 million a day or whatever kind of crazy numbers they could be making. And so is it worth it to spend time booking travel? No, probably not. They would much rather like outsource that, right, to an expert like a travel planner. So it makes sense always, and I think it always has, that luxury travel would lean towards travel planners when that's a viable option, which it's becoming more and more viable, right, and more popular. And then when you think about the K-shaped economy concept, and so how there's like this more wealth is being concentrated at the top of that scale, and maybe there's some more people being able to enter that tippy top of that. It's like then there's even more growth happening with the concept of travel planners, because if someone wasn't wealthy before and they just came into money, they are now going to feel the pressure of that, right? Like they just came into a bunch of money. They probably have a lot of pressure from people around them. Maybe they're feeling pressure to keep that going, like all the things that I think all of our clients experience. And all of those would point people to use a travel planner as well. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, like a circle that feeds itself, because it's like, of course, I could see how that would like spiral into the trend of using travel planners growing and growing and growing, especially in the current economic situation.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I hadn't thought about that.
A good lead into the people, like you said, those people that are coming to stay in those properties, they do want things taken care of for them. And when you can offer them as many curated experiences as you have,
right,
and the more that we create and the relationships that we create that way,
yeah,
the more that we can offer to all of those guests as well.
Yeah.
So, they're spending not only on lodging, but quite a bit of money as well.
The whole experience.
Yeah, on our experience team.
Right. I mean, we always say this, right? Like this came to Rob and I early on with the business. Like I would have conversations with homeowners and guests, and I would talk about, and I would do what I'm doing right now. I was like rambling, but I was like really passionate about what I was saying, but I'd be rambling. And I'd be kind of like, because, it's really not about the money, right? Like I'm starting to think as I'm talking with these people, like if you're spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a week's lodging, like clearly you're not worried about the money. It's really your time, right? Like, and I would start to talk through that while I'm in a conversation, and I could see people's face, right? They were just like, you could see that clicked. Like every time they were like, oh, yes, that's it. And so I knew that this was like an important concept within our business. The idea of like, it's not the money, it's the time. People can't get the time back. Like they might be able to make back their $50,000 3 times this week, but they only get that 1 week with their family. And if they mess that up, they might not get another week with their family for like 6 months. And now maybe they're going to be really worrying the whole time that their kids are going to grow up and be drug addicts and hate them. And then they're going to get a divorce and their mother-in-law is going to hate them. And like, all the things that like you worry about. Maybe not everyone, but like, or maybe I have a problem. But like, anyway, the things that people worry about, I could imagine these people worrying about. And like, if they were to have a bad week with their one time they were supposed to be, bonding with their family in the mountains, and like we messed that up, that would be way more impactful than like, even if we, gave them a vacation that they think was worth less money than what they spent. So that became early on.
You're absolutely right though about time. I mean, what those people have is limited time.
Right.
When they get to that spot, they're not only there to go skiing, they're not only there to, have a chef come to the house and provide a great meal for their whole group, but they're also there working.
Yep.
So, and if it's like a multi-generational family that's there, perhaps one of the partners will be back and working on something.
Yep.
While everybody else is doing something else. So it's very much a trip of work plus play, almost every single time.
Totally. So especially, I think wealthy people, it's like if they own businesses, they have their own companies. There's definitely always that blended line of like your personal life and your job. It's like all kind of the same very often.
The pandemic changed that quite a bit for everybody as well.
Yeah.
People take their work on the road with them, take their work on their vacations with them. Yeah. And it's become very normal
Right.
in these past, 6 years.
And then in that situation, it's like you need someone that can help you make sure where you're going to stay is going to have what you need if you're going to have to do your job there, which we deal with this a lot and we always have. But I do think that would be another reason that people use travel planners, because then they're like, they have this other line of confidence where they're like, can you please make sure all these things are going to be there so that I don't have to do that? Okay, so I have some more questions here, and some of these are about building meaningful partnerships, which to me is like, obviously it's at the crux of figuring out how do we make the relationship, the partnership between vacation rental companies and travel planners or travel planner companies. Like, how do we make this work better? Because currently it's clunky, it's like rickety, it's kind of, it's full of friction. And so, like, how do you make it better? So we've been talking about this a lot. And one of the questions I have is, how do you build trust with travel advisors? And I do feel like Rich has good opinions on this. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's something we talked about yesterday as
Yeah.
well. When you do build that relationship with that travel advisor group, having them see the properties up front is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they can see exactly where they
Like
are.
in person.
They can be walking
Yeah.
through them, give their own feel of what those properties actually are,
Mhm.
and then be able to provide that information to their clients
Right.
from a firsthand experience.
Which is what their clients want.
So that builds the trust too, but it also gets the actual feel of the property that we're providing.
Yeah.
We have great, fantastic photos. We have
Yeah.
great Matterport walkthroughs. Still, it
Yeah.
doesn't do it as justice when
It's true.
you can see it in person, see where it is within the landscape. That's invaluable in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's one thing for sure.
Yeah.
But also developing like the clear commission structure, right?
Yes.
That's a big part of it too. Like,
This has to get solved.
right.
And it's like not so easy like we want it to be. Because Rich and I have talked about this. We talked about it with our sales team. We talked about it with a lot of people. I've been talking about this for years. And we talked about this with Vanessa when she was on, which is like the reason that it's easier for travel planners to book with hotels is because they have contracted arrangements, right? Like they have commission structures already agreed upon. They have deals in place so that the travel planner knows that that hotel staff is not going to try and like steal that client and start booking with them outside of the travel planner. They have arrangements in place that say like, oh, if this travel company, travel planners, if they book with this hotel, then all those guests get like a special handwritten note and a bottle of wine and a blah 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 and like $100 credit to the F&B or whatever. And it's like these are boundaries set in place that make it easy for those travel planners to know exactly what their client is going to get when they stay at that hotel. And they also know, like equally as importantly, what they're going to get paid. And then in the vacation rental industry, we literally just do not have a method to set up those parameters. So like we as a company, Abode, we could agree on, and we kind of talk about this. We could easily agree on like, we're going to pay this travel planner company this commission because that's what they want, this percentage, and we're going to pay this one this. We could like make these agreements. We could decide that we're going to offer a handwritten note and include transfer from the airport or whatever we're going to do. But we don't have a way to even like really consistently communicate that to the travel planner. So even if we do come up with the parameters, which is a little bit hard, but could be done, there's no way to implement, right?
Mhm,
Because the
true.
current systems like the GDS and the other, methods with which the travel planners go online to access inventory, usually with the hotels, it doesn't allow us to enter those same boundaries like contractual obligations, commission structures. And I do understand why it's complicated. I still don't understand though why we cannot just like get over it, right? It's like, okay, it won't be as easy as it was with the hotel. It might take a few more steps, but can we not just do this? I don't know. It seemed like we were getting close with Fora, but now I feel like it's
There's a lot
slipping
of
away.
different platforms that are out there that, have a number of properties on them from a number of different companies. Sure, but that also costs a company like ours
Yeah,
more commission as well.
right.
So
It's like you need a plan and a structure. So at
Exactly.
least we could say, okay, like what is the goal? Like what information do we need to fill out for each of these companies? And like what format do they need the information for us to upload to them? And then we could work within that. And then the travel planners would know what they're going to get paid instead of like basically every interaction that a vacation rental company has with a travel planner. Like usually it is a one-off negotiation on like some sort of commission arrangement and whether that will be added on to the top. And so that the guest will be paying the regular price plus the commission, or will it come out of the current price so that they're paying, they have rate parity with what they see online? And then that means we're going to make less as a vacation rental company, like managing that house. And then the homeowner is probably going to make somewhat less too. So there's like all of these little factors, which are complex. But honestly, there could be a process that was applied to that we could just like all agree to. Here's the process. I don't know.
Right.
So
That
there's
standardization is missing.
right.
And I mean, hotels have been around a lot longer. They've had a lot longer
I mean, I
time
don't know.
to
You could
build that
debate this. Like we could
standardization.
debate this. Like vacation rentals were around in Europe for a really long time,
For sure.
even in the
correct.
Southeast United States. But it's like this structure. Honestly, I think it's because hotels at the late 90s, early 2000s, all these brands came into play. And when those big brands came in and then they sort of were becoming the flag on like multiple locations, they were able to like mandate to their teams and to their hotels, here's how we interact with these travel planners. So they were able to like at scale set process.
For sure.
Right?
Consolidation changed
And
quite a
vacation
bit.
rentals are fragmented and we don't have that scale. And so it's like one off with every company. But again, okay, so there is a company called LPMS, right? Yeah, you know about this.
For sure.
So
Yeah, I've met them
LPMS,
too, yeah.
Mayman Group started. Mayman Group is a company like Abode, but they're in LA, in the LA area. So they're like really high end luxury vacation rentals in the LA area, and Near and Tall Mayman are the owners. They're wonderful. And they have been attempting to create a tool that could maybe be the bridge between vacation rentals and travel planners. And I'm not sure exactly like how successful it's been. I know they made a lot of progress. And I know that we just officially got listed or got our access to be listed through LPMS, which should potentially give us a way to set up these arrangements with travel planners. I'm not sure that it's like fully operational yet, all the way that we would hope for it to be. It's definitely a step in the right direction. And to me, it's like, I'll take anything.
Yeah.
Like if there's a step, then I want to take it, even if it's not the end all be all, even if there'll be some other solution in the future. Like I think we should take whatever steps in the right direction that we can, because just standing where we've been forever is not doing anything. So yeah. And I think like, again, I understand the complexity of trying to figure out a way to agree upon what commissions would be, what your rules are about not contacting clients outside of that, relationship, on who brought you that, and how the commission is set up. Is it over the top or is it coming out of the, regular rate? And these are like hard conversations, but I really truly believe if someone gave us the form to fill out, we could fill it out and we could like start. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, if anyone is listening and if you have an idea, or if you're in vacation rentals and you have been working with travel planners and you have some of these arrangements in place and they're working really well for you, first of all, we'd love to have you on the show so you can talk about that. But if you don't want to do that, then I would love to just talk to you. I want to hear how you're doing it. And I also think if there are travel planners listening who they have worked with vacation rental companies and you feel like there's certain companies that are making it really easy for you to book vacation rentals for your clients as a travel planner, I mean, I would want to know about that too. I really want you on the show as well, and or call us and tell us your ideas. Because again, the more I talk about this, the more I'm like very clear. This is not impossible. And it feels like way too long that we've been like not taking the next steps forward. Okay. There's another question I have here about building meaningful partnerships, which is what qualities do advisors consistently value in their partners? Do we think we already covered this or no? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, like the qualities are a consistent operation, right? So if Abode can provide that consistent operation for each individual operator that we're working with, regardless of their style.
Yeah.
If we have a consistent style of how we operate and how the planner should
like
be
trustworthy
speaking to us and be accessing our properties, et cetera, then we can control that at least to some degree.
Totally.
And then work with them on their processes too. Some of those might use their own concierge team. Completely fine.
See, that's a whole
Some
other
of
thing,
the others
but not hard. Yeah.
might not, and then they can use our system too. But if it's known and it's upfront and it's standardized between the two companies, Travel Advisor Abode, Travel Advisor B and Abode, those particular one-on-one relationships, if we know how each other are operating and it's standardized, then it can be done.
Feels like an agreement could be made easily with like check boxes where you could determine these things.
Definitely can.
And I mean, obviously this does bring back to like my other favorite discussion. If I have two favorite discussions, maybe I have three, but two of them is definitely talking about how are we going to have travel planners working more easily with vacation rental companies. And the other one is talking about standards and tiers and chain scale in the vacation rental industry, because, we know we don't have that. And I do think this question about like what qualities do advisors consistently value in their partners, obviously, like Rich said, if we had standards that made sense, right? Like if we had tiers within the industry where like you would know what is your economy level, or whatever you want to call it. What is your mid scale? What is your upper upscale? Whatever.
Mhm.
And then you had standards that applied across the industry to those tiers. Well, then not only would our potential guests know what they were getting, just like when you go to a Hampton Inn, you know what you're getting. You're not mad. You're not like, what the hell? This Hampton Inn doesn't have a concierge. Like you would know
Right.
what you're gonna get at a Hampton Inn. You're not expecting, the wrong thing. The same thing could work for vacation rentals. And it would also, of course, work very well for travel planners because they would be able to have more confidence offering up something to their client. And maybe it's this option is using the word luxury, and then you would know what that actually meant. Because right now, there are many property managers out there that talk about their property being luxury, and maybe they're not even using like cotton sheets. Maybe they have, like some of those more synthetic, which look, I'm not trying to judge anything. Like some of those sheets are really soft too, but they just don't last. And I wouldn't consider that luxury. Right. And I mean, look, it's not me that should set the standard. Like this is probably some group effort that needs to happen. But the point is there needs to be a standard. It can't just be like my idea of luxury against someone else's. Right. And so another vote, as always. I'm probably going to bring this up every single episode because I can't help myself. I feel like I bring it up on every phone call and every podcast and any conversation that I have, but like standards, we need them. Ashley Ching is really knowledgeable about this. And so if you really are hearing me talk about standards and tiers in the vacation rental industry and you want to talk about it more, if you're like me and you're addicted to that conversation, you should call Ashley Ching. She owns In Haven and she's an expert. Okay. So we do have more questions. We were going to talk about like creating better experiences together. The concept of vacation rental companies working with travel planners and how those two types of service can actually, result in a better experience for the guest overall than if only one of those components existed. And so where do you think the friction still exists, Rich, in the booking process as it stands right now?
Yeah. And we talked about a couple of things already, just outlining the proper commission structure, making sure that the agents have access to the properties to be able to see when they're available, what the real cost is to them,
like inventory and availability,
having inventory standard that they can see at any given time makes things a lot easier.
Are you kind of referring to like those in-person tours too? Because you touched on that earlier. I guess we didn't dive into that. I think that is an interesting component. Sure. I do think that's luxury specific.
It might be, but that's okay. We can talk about that anyway.
We talk about what we know.
Because in that case, if an agent or if a travel advisor is only interested in our, let's say, top 8 properties in a particular location,
which we would call our anthology collection.
That's perfect. So in that case, then they should know those 8 properties as much as absolutely possible, and have access to those properties and not mud the water with anything else. So if that's only what you're working with that particular partner, then let's make that the standard for that partner. So setting the standards with the partner, like we were saying, is the key.
It is
having that standard of how you should be worked with and how you should work with that partner.
Like it literally all comes down to, and I'm so obsessed with this lately in our business. Like I'm sure everyone in Abode is so sick of me because I talk a lot about processes and playbooks and SOPs a lot lately, but it's just become clear. Like I had a huge shift in my mindset as a business owner from not wanting to do that stuff because I really wanted autonomous teams and I wanted people to be able to think for themselves and to solve problems on the fly. But what I realized is like for consistency in execution, like in a real way, like in a really, really strong, consistent way, like you need those processes and SOPs that are written and you need the team to like be bought in and agree to doing these things in these certain ways. And yes, they still need autonomy and they still need the availability to spend some money and make people happy on the fly, but like within these frameworks. And then when I think about it, when you talk about vacation rentals and travel planners, the way that it will work is if there is a framework and a process that can be agreed upon. And then part of making that work would be that you have standards and tiers that everyone can believe in, which would be another process, like not impossible that our industry would have tiers and standards that would work, but that would require consistency in processes and efforts. Like all of it comes down to that. Can that really be true? That's crazy.
It creates less friction. That's exactly what we're talking about. So creating less friction by providing a standard that an advisor would expect.
Yeah.
So working with Abode, they're expecting that standard.
Yep.
If those guests receive that standard
Right.
time and time again, trust is built. You have then you have a true partnership.
And it has to be like set, written, agreed upon by all involved, right? I mean, this is the same across all these concepts that we're talking about. I don't know. It's kind of crazy just how against some of this stuff I was for so many years, and how like, whoa, it's the center of my universe now.
The Four Seasons,
and I believe in it.
The Four Seasons has,
it's like the center of it all.
Exactly. I mean, the Four Seasons has an exceptional experience.
Right.
And you know exactly what you get when you get there.
And that's like part and parcel of why travel planners are so comfortable booking something like the Four Seasons, because they know exactly what their guest is going to get. Okay. And then just going back 1 second to like this idea of bringing travel planners out to the properties to see them. We have done this in the past. We have brought like some of our, partners where they were really bringing us some really great guests, but they wanted to see some of our really awesome properties. They wanted these planners. They wanted to see it for themselves. They wanted to get to know our team. They wanted us to show them like what it's like when we hire a private chef at one of these homes or whatever, because they want to be able to trust and tell their customer, not only do I know these people and I trust them and they have good processes and, SOPs, and we've all like seen it and we all are on the same page, but also I've been there. I met them. I went to the house. I saw how they present these services to the guest. And like, I feel totally comfortable that I can book this for you. And yes, it's expensive, but like, you're not going to be worrying about like wasted time. Like we talked about, your time will be used perfectly. And so I do think this is something we did a while ago when Rich and I were talking, like we need to do it again, but it was really fruitful. We did, I think it was like sometime close after COVID, although maybe it was right before COVID. I'm not sure.
One of our partners, the Travel Whisperer, came to visit some of our Jackson Hole properties.
That's
just, I don't know, like
a
couple of months ago.
Okay. Okay, wait. So I think you told me this, but then I kind of forgot. So the Travel Whisperer is, I would say, is that like similar to Fora, where it's like a group of travel planners, or is Travel Whisperer like one person or just a couple people?
It's a small group.
Okay.
But like it's a very tight group.
Okay.
And yeah, again, developing standards between us and them, that's definitely an integral part of that partnership.
Okay. And so then they were in Jackson and they got to
visit the properties that we had that were available, that they especially were looking for.
And who was it, like Brooke or Chandler from the team? Some of the guys took them around.
Brooke, Wes, yeah.
Okay. See, and I feel like maybe you told me this and I'm kind of forgetting. I don't know. Maybe I have early onset dementia. This is likely.
Lots of stuff happens on a daily basis, let alone in this office.
Right?
Everywhere.
But like, to me, this is the key. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening and you're a vacation rental company, and you're thinking, well, Abode manages like really fancy houses, and I'm never going to get the travel planners to book my stuff because my stuff isn't as expensive as, what Abode is managing. Or maybe it's not as expensive because it's like in a less expensive area, but maybe you have like nice stuff that you're offering, or maybe you have like mid-level stuff, but some of it is just like really well located and whatever. I do think it's good to seek out travel planners that you can tell are specializing on booking the kind of stuff that you have to offer.
Exactly.
And I do think, because we've done this in the past and I've spent a significant amount of money on it in the past. And actually the first few times we spent on this, we didn't have so much to spend maybe as we do now. And I remember pushing the budget on that and like kind of stretching it to really set up a situation where we did pay for flights for some of these travel planners. And I can't remember how many people exactly, but I think it was like maybe 4 people. It was like maybe 2 from one company and 2 from another, something like that. And we flew them, maybe they were from like LA and New York. We flew them out to Jackson. We put them up in a property. So maybe we had 2 properties, like, 2 and 2. They were there for a few nights. I think we did like set up a private chef one night at one of the homes, and everybody came together and we had a private chef experience. And then we toured them. And it was like me and some people from our team, and we toured these travel planners at some of the houses like you're talking about with Travel Whisperer. And like that outcome was very positive. The amount of bookings they then brought us after that experience that built so much trust was really good. So I would say this is something people should do, because, like it could scale in the cost, because if the stuff that you manage is like lower nightly rate, then like potentially you're not, let's say you're paying your homeowner for the nights where you're putting those people up. You're spending less on that. You're probably spending less on your like what you're doing for private chef. Like your costs are probably going to be sort of, the ratio will work out. And I think the payback is worth it. Like the amount of revenue that can be created from those relationships when you actually have that in-person trust and the in-person experience of them seeing the house, being in the market, and maybe experiencing like some of the, I don't know, whatever you set up with concierge, which could be different anywhere, but it could just be that someone set up their beach chairs and then maybe somebody dropped off flowers at the house or whatever, but that would probably be enough for someone at a certain level that I think it would be valuable. So I do think vacation rental companies probably don't do this enough. I think we could really help ourselves in the relationships with travel planners if we did that more often. And I'm talking to myself too, because I did a good job with this sporadically, but we need to do better, more consistently.
Meeting those teams in person.
Yeah.
Again, invaluable experience, right? So
right.
the travel planner can be direct with their clients.
Yeah.
And say, I met the team.
Yes.
I stayed in the property. I, experienced their hospitality.
Yeah.
All of those things adding together make the brand. Right?
Totally.
So they recognize that with the brand.
Yeah.
And then that consistency is there.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's interesting. It's like we keep coming back to these conversations around like the standards kind of a thing, and like setting up these like written, sort of documented, contracted arrangements, right? So it comes down to processes and like contracts
and consistency.
But like the consistency is, hopefully coming from your processes,
so,
right?
Yeah.
But then it always comes back to the two same things, right? So it always comes back to standards for me recently, and those processes, but also people, right? Those are the two things. So it's like, and if you look at that people component, like obviously you need to have your team trained, you need to be able to execute consistently with high levels of service, but also like it is that personal interaction. Like we're talking about like bringing the travel planner out to your market or going to some of those conferences where you're meeting them one-on-one. Like essentially it's just all back to I can picture it in my head, like some sort of Venn diagram or something of like one circle is those interpersonal, like human connections, which is like the book that I just wrote, which is all about how to build connections. And I feel like it's the human connection, and then it's standards. And for so much of my life with this business, I was not focused enough on standards. And I do feel like we've made a leap forward once we committed to focusing on standards more. We had the people piece, but you need both. You need the standards, those documented procedures, and then you need your sort of training and also best practices on like building interpersonal relationships.
Which leads to that consistency. So
yeah. So we just solved it. So basically now everyone can just sit back, like relax, put your feet up. I know we've all been really worried about how are we going to figure out how to handle getting more reservations through travel planners when it seems so complicated. But basically Rich and I just solved the entire thing. So
and absolutely right. I mean, and truly MTS is not the only place to meet these travel planners in one place. There's other events that are around as well. But at MTS, there are different levels of travel planners and what they're looking for. And so in your business, it can certainly be an option for you at any level.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. So I feel like we covered all the things we wanted to cover. And also Helen just told me, I think we're at like 45 or 50 minutes, which is perfect timing, which is I do not excel at mathematical equations. I don't excel at getting from here to there using a map. And I do not excel at feeling time pass. Other things I'm really good at, but those three things I'm not. But we're like very much on time. And I actually feel like today I had like a very on time day. If I were to like show you all the things that I had and how many times I was late, I think I might have only been a couple minutes late on a million things today. And now that's happening with this episode. So if you're listening to this episode and you were really scared that we were going to ramble on for like 75 to 90 minutes, which has happened, I think we're going to be like a normal episode length. Okay. So here's the thing. If you're listening to this and you are interested in what we're talking about, I really do want people to reach out because I want more options of people to talk to. We do have some really good guests scheduled to come in like the next few days, few weeks for the next episodes, but we have some more open spots. So if you want to talk about this, I think you should reach out to Helen or I, and our emails are in the show notes, I think. Rich's email is also, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Rich's email is Rich, like Rich, R-I-C-H, right? At Abode Luxury Rentals, ABODE Luxury Rentals with an S.com. So if you want to hear more from Rich, or if you want to know about like how Abode handles reservation sales and concierge sales, like we kind of do it pretty well. I'm not saying we're perfect. We're learning every single day, but Rich knows a lot. He's been in the industry for a long time. We have an amazing team, which he leads. So if anyone ever wanted to pick his brain, I think he's open to it. Like don't flood him because he has a lot of work too, and he's on LinkedIn too. And so am I. So you can always reach out to us. And then if somehow this episode gets to like travel planners and you want to fight with us because maybe you don't agree with what we're saying, or maybe you do and you want to like join the gospel of Rich and Rachel on travel planners and vacation rentals, then let us know about that too. And otherwise, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you'll come back next week as we continue the discussion on Booked Differently this season on the Hospitality Breakroom. Thanks for listening to the Hospitality Breakroom. This season, we're exploring how the vacation rental industry and travel planners can work better together, and we're just getting started. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you found this conversation valuable, share it with someone in hospitality or travel. We'll see you next time in the Breakroom.